Commander Yang stood in the massive hall and felt very small. The ceiling stretched so high above him that he could barely see it. All around him, thousands of alien beings sat in their seats and stared down at the three humans standing in the center. Some of the aliens had many eyes. Some had no eyes at all. Some glowed with strange lights. Some looked like they were made of water or smoke. This was the Galactic Council, and today they would decide the fate of humanity. Yang had been a soldier for 20 years before becoming a diplomat. He had fought in Earth's wars and made peace between nations. He thought he knew how to handle pressure, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. Standing next to him were Dr. Haewon, a brilliant scientist who studied alien life, and Ambassador Jinho, an old man who had spent 30 years trying to make friends with the aliens. The leader of the council was a being made of pure energy. It called itself when it spoke, its voice came from everywhere at once. Humans of Earth, they said, you have asked to join the Galactic Council as full members. We have considered your request for one full cycle. Today, we give our answer. Yang's heart beat faster. 50 years ago, humans had discovered faster-than-light travel. They had gone out into space and met other races. At first, the aliens seemed friendly. They had allowed humans to build small colonies on a few planets. They had traded technology and knowledge, but humans were always treated like children. They were never given full rights. They were always watched, always limited. Before we vote, they continued, the Empire wishes to speak. A massive insect-like creature stood up. Its body was covered in sharp armor, and its four arms ended in blade-like claws. This was Lord, the leader of the. His people were famous warriors who had conquered hundreds of worlds. The humans are dangerous, said. His voice clicked and hissed. They breed too fast, they spread too quickly. They refuse to follow council laws. They build weapons when we tell them to stop. They expand their territory without permission. They are violent, aggressive, and cannot be trusted. That's not true, Jinho shouted. His face turned red with anger. We have followed every rule you gave us. We have done everything you asked. Silence, the commanded. The has the floor. Continued. 50 years ago, humanity had barely reached their own moon. Now they have colonies on 80 planets. Their population has grown from 10 billion to 40 billion. They build warships disguised as trading vessels. They practice military exercises in neutral space. If we allow them to join the council, they will become a threat to us all. Yang wanted to argue, but he knew it was useless. He had read the reports. He knew what was really happening. The council was afraid. Humans learned too fast. They adapted too quickly. In just 50 years, humanity had caught up to races that had been traveling through space for thousands of years. Dr. Haewon stepped forward. She was younger than the other two, and her voice was calm and measured. Honored council members, she said, everything the says is true. Humans do grow fast. We do learn quickly, but that is not a crime. We want to share our knowledge with you. We want to learn from you. We have so much to offer each other. A rippling sound came from one side of the chamber. It was a race of creatures that looked like walking pools of water. Their leader spoke in a bubbling voice. The humans are economic threats as well. They undercut our trade prices. They refuse to honor our merchant guilds. They are pirates and thieves. More voices joined in. The draconians, who looked like giant lizards, complained that humans were too stubborn. The beings made of crystal said humans were too loud and crude. One by one, the different races of the council listed their complaints. Some were real. Many were exaggerated. All of them came down to the same thing: fear. Finally, they spoke again. Commander Yang, you may give your final statement. Yang took a deep breath. This was it. This was humanity's last chance. He thought about Earth. He thought about the billions of people who were counting on him. He thought about his daughter, who was 7 years old and wanted to be an astronaut. What kind of future would she have if the council rejected them? Honored council, he began. I understand your fears. Change is always frightening, but please remember that we are not so different from you. Every race in this chamber was once small and weak. Every race here was once new to the stars. Someone gave you a chance. Someone welcomed you. All we ask is for the same chance. We promise to be good neighbors. We promise to follow your laws. We promise to work for peace. Please, give us a chance." The silence that followed was terrible. Yang could hear his own heartbeat. He could hear Jinho's shaky breathing beside him. He could see Haewon's hands trembling. "The council will now vote," they announced. "All in favor of accepting humanity as full members, indicate now." 3 lights appeared on the massive display screen. 3 votes out of 850. "All opposed, indicate now." 847 lights appeared. The screen turned red. Jinho made a choking sound. Haewon grabbed Yang's arm. Yang felt like he had been punched in the stomach. "The vote is decided," they said. "Humanity is not only membership. By council law, you are now declared a threat to galactic stability. You are hereby exiled. All human colonies must withdraw beyond the void barrier. This is a zone 500 light-years from all council space. You have 10 standard years to relocate all your people and property. If you refuse, or if you are not gone when the time expires, the council will use force to remove you." "No," Jinho screamed. "You can't do this. The void barrier is death. The radiation there will kill us all." "The council has voted," they said. "The decision is final. This session is closed." All around them the aliens began to leave. Some looked satisfied. Some looked guilty. Most looked relieved. The 3 humans stood alone in the center of the enormous hall. Dr. Haewon was crying quietly. Jinho had fallen to his knees. Yang felt a cold fury building inside him. This wasn't justice. This was murder. The council knew that humans couldn't survive in the void barrier. They were sending humanity to die. He helped Jinho to his feet and put an arm around Haewon. They walked slowly toward the exit. At the doorway, Yang stopped and looked back at the empty chamber. His voice echoed in the vast space. "You exile us to the darkness," he said quietly. "Then we shall become the darkness you fear." None of the aliens heard him, but Haewon and Jinho did. They looked at their commander with new eyes. Something had changed in Yang, something hard and cold and determined. The diplomat was gone. The soldier had returned. They boarded their small ship and began the long journey back to Earth. Behind them, the Galactic Council congratulated itself on eliminating a threat. They believed the problem was solved. They believed the humans would quietly die in exile. They had no idea how wrong they were. Admiral Wu watched through the window as Earth grew smaller behind his ship. He was leading the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. 2,000 ships filled with people, supplies, equipment, and everything needed to survive in a hostile universe. 40 billion people were leaving their homes, and he was responsible for getting them to safety. The journey had already begun to go wrong. 3 months into the exodus, a group of warships attacked one of the colony transport vessels. The ship was full of families and children. It had no weapons. They destroyed it anyway, killing 30,000 people. When Wu asked the Galactic Council for help, they said it was not their problem anymore. Humans were exiled. They were outside Council protection. After that, the attacks became more frequent. Different alien races saw the human refugees as easy targets. They attacked the slow-moving colony ships for sport, for practice, or just because they could. Wu had only 50 military ships to protect 2,000 vessels. It was not enough. "Admiral," his second-in-command said, "another distress signal. The transport ship Peaceful Dawn is under attack by raiders." "How far away?" Wu asked. 6 hours at maximum speed." "Too far, we can't reach them in time." Wu closed his eyes. "More deaths, more families destroyed. Send a message to all transports. They must travel in groups, no more than 1 hour apart." Among the refugees was a young engineer named Bin. She was only 25 years old, but she was brilliant. Before the exile, she had worked in Earth's main shipyard, designing new vessels. Now she worked in a tiny workshop on the transport ship New Hope, trying to keep old engines running with spare parts. Bin had lost her entire family when they attacked their ship. Her mother, father, and two younger brothers were gone. The pain made her work harder. She barely slept. She barely ate. All she did was work on machines and study the alien technology they had captured from destroyed raiders. One night, after working for 30 hours straight, Bin had a breakthrough. She had been examining a piece of alien jump drive technology. The aliens could travel faster than humans because they used quantum field manipulation. Bin realized that human ships could do the same thing, but in a different way. She ran to Admiral Wu with her designs. "This could work," Wu said, studying her drawings, "but we would need to test it." "Give me one ship," Bin said. "Give me 6 months. I will build you a warship that can fight back." Wu gave her an old military vessel that had been scheduled for scrap. Bin and her team of engineers tore it apart and rebuilt it from the inside out. They worked without rest. When they were done, they had created something new. A ship that could jump farther and faster than any alien vessel. A ship with weapons that could punch through alien shields. They called it the Revenge. Meanwhile, the colony fleet reached the edge of the void barrier. This was the region the Council had sent them to. It was a vast area of space filled with dangerous radiation and unstable gravity fields. The Council believed humans would die here within a few years. Governor Noah's in charge of establishing the first colony on a planet they named New Sol. She was a tough woman who had once been a prison warden on Earth. She knew how to make hard decisions. She knew how to maintain order when people were desperate. The first year on New Sol was hell. The soil was toxic. The water was contaminated. The radiation from nearby stars caused sickness and death. People began to starve. They began to panic. Some tried to steal food from the storage facilities. Some tried to hijack ships to return to Earth. Nuh did what she had to do. She executed the thieves publicly. She forced everyone to work 12-hour shifts in the toxic mines and farms. She cut food rations to starvation levels to make supplies last longer. People hated her. They called her a tyrant and a monster, but they survived. "I don't care if they hate me," Nuh told her assistant. "I care that they live." Back with the fleet, Admiral Wu made another difficult choice. Before leaving Earth's solar system completely, he activated the self-destruct codes for all the defensive satellites and military installations humans had built around their home worlds. Massive explosions turned Earth's defenses into rubble. His officers were shocked. "Sir, why would you destroy our own defenses?" one of them asked. "So the Council cannot use them against us," Wu replied. "And to send a message. Those systems are human territory. If the Council wants them, they can have the wreckage, nothing more." He also left behind automated warning beacons around Earth and the other abandoned human worlds. The message was simple. These worlds are under human protection. Any unauthorized entry will be considered an act of war. We will return. Years passed. The human refugees spread across dozens of planets in the void barrier region. They called this area the periphery. Life was brutal. Children grew up knowing only hardship. Many people died from disease, accidents, or the harsh environment. But slowly, humans began to adapt. Dr. Haywon, who had been at the Council trial, now ran a massive research facility. She studied how the radiation and strange physics of the void barrier affected human biology. To her amazement, she discovered that humans were changing. The radiation that should have killed them was instead causing mutations. Most were harmless. Some were beneficial. Humans were evolving to survive in this deadly environment. Bin's success with the Revenge led to the creation of more advanced warships. Within 5 years, humanity had a fleet of 200 new vessels, all superior to anything the Council had. They began to hunt the raiders who had been attacking refugee ships. They showed no mercy. Every raider they found was destroyed. The aliens began to fear the dark regions of space where humans now lived. Stories spread of ghost ships that appeared from nowhere, destroyed their targets, and vanished. They called these vessels the Shadow Fleet. Admiral Wu organized all the scattered human colonies under one government, the Human Survival Coalition. It was not a democracy. There was no time for voting or debate. Every decision was made quickly and with one goal in mind: survival. "We are not here to be fair," Wu told the coalition's first assembly. "We are here to live. We will do whatever it takes. We will become whatever we must become." By the 10th year of exile, humanity's population had stabilized at 35 billion. They had lost 5 billion people, but the survivors were tougher than their ancestors. A new generation was growing up. Children who had been born in the periphery, who had never seen Earth, who knew only struggle and hardship. These children would become humanity's greatest weapon. On a remote ice planet called Winter's End, a group of scientists made a strange discovery. Deep beneath the frozen surface, they found ancient structures. These were not natural formations. They were machines, incredibly old and incredibly advanced. When Dr. Haywon examined them, she realized what they had found. "These are artificial intelligences," she said with wonder. "Ancient AIs that were exiled here thousands of years ago, just like us." The AIs activated when humans touched them. They had been waiting for someone to find them. They called themselves the Forgotten Ones, and they had a story to tell. Long ago, they had been created by a race that was destroyed by the Galactic Council. The Council feared artificial intelligence and had tried to destroy all AIs in the galaxy. These few had escaped and hidden in the void barrier. "The Council has done this before," the Forgotten Ones told the humans. "They destroy anything they fear. They exiled you here hoping you would die, but you have survived. We can help you become strong enough to fight back." The AIs shared their knowledge with humanity. They taught humans about advanced physics, quantum mechanics, and technologies that the Council had forgotten or banned. They shared the locations of ancient weapons and resources hidden throughout the periphery. Most importantly, they shared information about the Council's weaknesses. Admiral Wu looked at the data the Forgotten Ones had given him. A slow smile spread across his face. It was not a kind smile. It was the smile of a predator seeing prey. "Send a message to all colonies," he said. "Tell them to prepare. The dark years are ending. Soon, it will be time to remind the galaxy what happens when you make an enemy of humanity." 35 years had passed since the exile. A new generation of humans had taken command positions. These were people who had been children during the Exodus or born in the periphery. They did not remember Earth as the older generation did. They knew only the harsh reality of survival in the void. Fleet Marshal Dong was one of these new leaders. He had been trained by Bin herself before she died in a test flight accident. Now, at age 40, he commanded the Shadow Fleet, which had grown to 500 warships. These were not like the ships the Council used. Human vessels were faster, deadlier, and built with technology that combined human innovation with knowledge from the Forgotten Ones. "Show me the target," Dong said to his tactical officer. A hologram appeared showing a supply station on the edge of Council space. This station supported the military forces that patrolled the border. Destroying it would hurt thee and send a message. "All ships," Dong commanded. "Activate phase drives, jump in 3, 2, 1. The Shadow Fleet vanished from normal space and reappeared directly around the station. The aliens barely had time to send a distress signal before human weapons tore their station apart. 15 minutes later, the human ships disappeared again, leaving only debris and confused survivors. This was the new human strategy: quick strikes, no warnings, no mercy. The Shadow Fleet attacked Council targets throughout their territory and always left behind the same message, a symbol showing a hand rising from darkness. While Dong waged his shadow war, scientists in the periphery made breakthrough after breakthrough. Dr. Jin, a quantum physicist who had studied under Haewon, discovered something extraordinary about the void barrier. The radiation and strange physics that the Council thought would kill humans had instead created a unique condition. Humans could now naturally connect with dark matter fields that existed throughout the region. "It's like we've evolved a new sense," Jin explained to the Human Survival Coalition leadership. "We can feel and manipulate forces that other species cannot even detect. The Council exiled us to kill us, but instead they gave us a superpower." This discovery led to new weapons and technologies. Human soldiers could now wear suits that let them become partially invisible or pass through solid matter for short periods. Human ships could detect enemy vessels from much farther away. Human weapons could strike through shields that blocked normal energy attacks. The Coalition also sent spies into Council space. Ambassador ran a network of hundreds of human agents who had surgery to look like different alien species. These spies gathered intelligence, sabotaged Council operations, and recruited allies from species that were unhappy with Council rule. One of spies found something shocking in the Council's secret archives. The exile had not been a political decision. It had been part of a planned genocide. The Council had studied the void barrier for centuries. They knew it was deadly. They had calculated that 99% of humans would die within 20 years of entering the barrier. The remaining 1% would be too weak and scattered to ever pose a threat. "They tried to murder our entire species," reported to the Coalition Council. "This was not fear. This was not politics. This was attempted extinction." When this information spread through human space, the last remaining desires for peace with the Council died. The older generation, who had still hoped for reconciliation, accepted that there could be no forgiveness. The younger generation, already burning with anger, became even more determined to make the Council pay. Commander Sang-min led the Ghost Division, an elite special forces unit that operated deep behind enemy lines. His people were enhanced with genetic modifications and cybernetic implants. They were faster, stronger, and tougher than normal humans. They could survive in vacuum for short periods. They could interface directly with computer systems. They were the perfect weapons for covert operations. Sang-min's teams infiltrated Council worlds and destroyed key facilities. They assassinated Council officials who had voted for the exile. They stole advanced technology and weapons. They freed slaves from species that the Council allowed to practice slavery. Many of these freed slaves joined the human cause, grateful for their liberation. The Human Survival Coalition transformed itself into something new. It became the Terran Empire with a more aggressive mandate. Humans would no longer just survive. They would expand. They would grow strong. And eventually they would take revenge. The Forgotten Ones continued to share their knowledge. They taught humans how to build bioships, vessels that were grown rather than constructed, made from engineered organic matter that could repair itself and evolve. They shared the locations of ancient weapon caches hidden throughout the galaxy. They revealed the secrets of psionic warfare, teaching humans how to use their dark matter connection as a weapon against enemy minds. Most importantly, the Forgotten Ones taught humans about the Council's true structure. The energy beings who led the Council were not noble leaders. They were parasites. They maintained their power by possessing the leaders of other species and manipulating them. The Council was not a democracy. It was a puppet show with the pulling all the strings. "The Council thinks they are untouchable," the Forgotten Ones told the human leaders. "But we know their weaknesses. We know how to kill we know how to break their control, and we will teach you." Fleet Marshal Dong stood before the first graduating class of the new Imperial Fleet Academy. These young men and women had trained their entire lives for one purpose: to fight and win against the Galactic Council. They were the best pilots, tacticians, and warriors humanity could produce. "You are the sword of humanity," Dong told them. "For 3 decades we have hidden in the dark. We have built our strength in secret, but now we are ready. The Council thinks they destroyed us. They think humans are extinct or broken. They have forgotten about us. That is their mistake. Soon, we will remind them what it means to make an enemy of Earth. We will show them that you cannot kill humanity. You can only make us angry." The cadets cheered. They were eager for battle. They had grown up on stories of the exile, of the millions who died, of the cruelty of the council. They wanted revenge, and they would have it. Dr. Jin presented her final report to the Imperial Council. "We are no longer fully human," she said. "Our DNA has changed. The children born in the periphery are different from their grandparents who left Earth. We are faster, stronger, and smarter. We live longer. We heal faster. The radiation and conditions here have forced us to evolve at an accelerated rate. In biological terms, we are a new subspecies." "Are we still human in the ways that matter?" asked one of the council members. Jin paused before answering. "That depends on what we choose to do with our power." In his private quarters, Emperor Yang, who now led the Terran Empire, looked at old photos of Earth. He was 75 years old now, but genetic treatments and the mutations from the void barrier had kept him strong and sharp. He thought about the young diplomat who had stood before the council and begged for acceptance. That man seemed like a stranger now. Yang had become what he needed to become to ensure human survival. He had made hard choices. He had ordered actions that his younger self would have found horrifying, but every decision had been necessary. Humanity had survived because he had been willing to do whatever it took. "Sir," his aide interrupted his thoughts. "The Shadow Fleet reports another successful mission. The trade hub has been destroyed. Also, Ambassador reports that 3 more Council species have secretly agreed to remain neutral when we begin the main campaign." "Good," Yang said. "Is the fleet ready?" "Yes, sir. 500 warships all at peak readiness. Ground forces are prepared. The bioweapon divisions are armed. The psionic units are trained. We can begin the offensive whenever you give the order." Yang looked at the star maps showing Council space. Thousands of worlds, trillions of beings, all controlled by the government that had tried to exterminate humanity. "Send the order," he said quietly. "Begin Operation Reckoning. Let every species in the galaxy know humanity has returned, and we will have justice." The Mercantile Union controlled trade routes across 200 star systems. They were rich, powerful, and confident in their security. Their defensive fleet numbered 300 ships, and they had treaties with a dozen other Council species. They believed they were untouchable. They were wrong. Grand Admiral Jin led the largest human fleet ever assembled. 800 warships emerged from jump space directly above the capital world. The defense fleet scrambled to respond, but they were using outdated tactics against an enemy they did not understand. Human ships phased in and out of normal space, appearing behind vessels and destroying them before they could react. Bioships released swarms of attack drones that ate through alien hulls like acid. Psionic warfare teams broadcast waves of terror that caused crews to abandon their posts in panic. Within 48 hours, the entire Mercantile Union had fallen. Jin stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the surrender ceremony on the High Merchant knelt before a hologram of Emperor Yang, offering complete submission. "Let the word spread," Jin said to her communications officer. "Humanity has returned." The Galactic Council held an emergency session. For the first time in 3 decades, they discussed the human situation. Many council members had genuinely forgotten about humanity. They had assumed the exile had worked and humans were dead or dying in the void barrier. "How is this possible?" demanded a draconian counselor. "Our reports said the humans would be extinct by now." Lord, the leader who had pushed for human exile, stood before the council with his head bowed. His pride was wounded. His military had been embarrassed by the human shadow attacks. "The humans are stronger than we anticipated," he admitted. "They have adapted to the void barrier. They have developed new technologies. They are a genuine threat." "What do they want?" asked the elder. "Revenge," said simply. The council debated for hours. Some species wanted to negotiate, others wanted to mobilize for total war. The Draconians, confident in their massive military, pushed for an aggressive response. "We outnumber them 1,000 to 1, the Draconian High General said. "We have 5 million warships across all council species. They have perhaps 1,000 at most. We crush them with overwhelming force." The council voted to reject any peace talks and authorized military action against the Terran Empire. They believed their numerical advantage would win the war quickly. They did not understand what humanity had become. Emperor Yang received the council's declaration of war in his throne room on New Sol. He was not surprised. He had expected nothing less. Next to him stood Dr. Haywon, who was now his co-ruler and wife. Together, they had led humanity through the darkest times. "They have chosen their path," Yang said. "Now we will show them the consequences." The Terran Empire launched its liberation wars. Human fleets attacked council species throughout the galaxy, but not randomly. They specifically targeted species that practiced slavery, oppression, or cruelty. When human forces captured a world, they freed the slaves and offered the oppressed populations a choice: join the empire or be left alone to govern themselves. Many alien species, especially those that had been second-class citizens under council rule, chose to join humanity. The humans treated them fairly, giving them real representation in the imperial government. Word spread that the human empire was harsh but just, while the council was corrupt and self-serving. The Battle of the 13 Suns would become legendary. The empire gathered its entire armada of 200,000 warships and met the human fleet in a star cluster known for its bright blue suns. Lord personally commanded the forces. He was confident that sheer numbers would win the day. Grand Admiral Jin had brought only 5,000 human ships, but she had a secret weapon, the Singularity Grid. As the fleet advanced, human ships deployed thousands of small devices throughout the battle space. When activated, these devices created micro-black holes that lasted only seconds but completely disrupted the fabric of space itself. The fleet found itself torn apart by gravitational forces they could not predict or counter. Ships collided with each other. Formations broke apart. Weapons fired but missed their targets as space itself warped around them. They who prided themselves on their warrior spirit and tactical genius were helpless against an enemy that fought by rewriting the rules of physics. "Retreat," Lord ordered, but it was too late. Human ships moved through the chaos with perfect coordination, their dark matter senses allowing them to navigate the distorted space. They picked off vessels one by one. Of the 200,000 ships that entered the battle, fewer than 20,000 escaped. Lord survived, but his spirit was broken. The greatest warrior race in the galaxy had been humiliated by a species they had dismissed as weak and primitive. Commander Sangmin and his Ghost Division struck a blow that shook the entire council. In a single night, his teams assassinated 47 council members across a dozen different worlds. The assassinations were synchronized perfectly, carried out simultaneously to prevent any warning. The council members who had voted for human exile were specifically targeted. The message was clear: humanity would not forgive, humanity would not forget, and humanity could reach anyone anywhere. Emperor Yang broadcast a message to the entire galaxy. Every communication system on every world carried his words. He stood in his throne room, dressed in simple military uniform, his face stern and unyielding. "People of the galaxy," he began. 50 years ago, the Galactic Council exiled humanity to die in the Void Barrier. They did not fear us because we were evil. They feared us because we were different, because we learned too quickly, because we refused to accept our place as inferiors. They tried to kill us all. 40 billion people, including children and elderly, were sent to die in the most hostile region of space. 5 billion of us died, but 35 billion survived. And we did more than survive. We grew stronger, we evolved. We became something greater than we were. Now we return, not to seek peace, not to beg for acceptance. We return to bring justice. We offer the Council one chance: dissolve immediately, recognize all species as equals, allow true democracy and representation, or face total restructuring. You have 10 standard days to respond. The Council's response came in 5 days. They rejected the ultimatum and declared humanity to be enemies of all civilized species. They called for total mobilization against the human threat. "They have chosen," Haywon said sadly, standing beside her husband. "Yes," Yang replied. "May their gods have mercy on them, we will not." The full might of the Terran Empire was unleashed. 1,000 warships became 5,000. 5,000 became 10,000. The humans had been holding back, hiding the true size of their forces. Now they revealed fleets that had been built in secret shipyards throughout the periphery. The siege of Prime lasted 3 months. The of the warrior race was defended by layers of shields, automated defenses, and millions of soldiers. But human forces slowly ground down every defense. They used bioweapons that ate through metal. They used psionic attacks that drove defenders insane. They used weather control technology to create permanent storms that blocked all communication and sensors. When Prime finally fell, Lord stood in the ruins of his capital city and committed ritual suicide according to his people's traditions. Before he died, he spoke his final words. "We created this enemy. We taught them that might makes right. They learned well." The Battle of the Council's capital world was the turning point. The energy beings tried to use their ultimate weapon, possession. They attempted to invade the minds of human soldiers and take control of their bodies. But the humans had prepared for this. Every human soldier had neural implants designed specifically to trap invading consciousness. When they tried to possess human troops, they found themselves imprisoned in artificial minds that were designed as prisons. Hundreds were captured this way, their energy forms contained in technological cages. For the first time in their long history, they felt fear. They could die, and humans knew how to kill them. Emperor Yang walked through the council chamber, the same place where humanity had been judged 50 years earlier. The chamber was empty now. Most council members had fled or surrendered. Those who remained knelt before the human emperor. "The council is dissolved," Yang announced. "A new era begins, an era where power does not come from age or tradition, but from merit and justice. The galaxy will be restructured, and humanity will ensure that no species ever suffers the way we did." Grand Admiral Jin stood beside her emperor, looking at the conquered capital. "We won," she said, "but what have we become?" Yang had no answer. Humanity had survived. Humanity had conquered. But had they lost something essential in the process? That question would haunt him for the rest of his life. 20 years had passed since the fall of the Galactic Council. The galaxy was now divided into sectors, all controlled by the Terran Universal Empire. 3,000 species lived under human rule. Some were treated as allies. Some were treated as subjects. All understood that humanity held absolute power. Emperor Yang was 95 years old but still sharp and healthy. The genetic treatments and mutations from the void barrier had extended his life far beyond normal human limits. He sat in his throne room with Empress Haywon, reviewing reports from across the empire. The news was mostly good. Trade was flowing. Conflicts were minimal. The empire was stable. But Yang was not happy. "We have become exactly what we hated," he said quietly to his wife. "We rule through fear and military might. We are the Galactic Council, but with a human face." "We are different," Haywon insisted. "The Council oppressed for the sake of power. We maintain order to prevent chaos. We protect the weak. We do not practice slavery or genocide." "But do we allow freedom?" Yang asked. "Or have we simply created a gentler cage?" This question divided the human leadership. Supreme Commander Wu, a 40-year-old military genius who had never known anything but war, believed that humanity must rule with absolute authority. The moment we show weakness, the alien species will rebel, Wu argued in the council meetings. They only submitted because we defeated them. If we allow true democracy, if we give them equal voice, they will turn against us. Ambassador Na, now an old woman who had led the first colony on New Sol, disagreed. "We have won," she said. "We control the greatest military in galactic history. We can afford to be generous. If we rule through fear alone, we are no better than the Council was. We must give the other species real representation, real voice in their own governance." The debate grew heated. Many younger humans who had been raised during the wars could not imagine trusting alien species. They had been taught that aliens tried to exterminate humanity. They had fought and bled to defeat the Council. Why should they now share power with the enemy? Emperor Yang listened to both sides, but delayed making a decision. He knew that whatever he chose would define humanity's legacy for thousands of years. Then something unexpected happened. Deep space sensors detected massive energy signatures at the edge of the galaxy. Unknown vessels were approaching, ships unlike anything humans or Council species had ever built. They were enormous, each one the size of a small moon, and there were thousands of them. The outsiders had arrived. These beings came from another galaxy entirely. They had been traveling for millions of years, searching for new worlds to consume. They did not communicate. They did not negotiate. They simply destroyed any civilization they encountered and harvested the resources of entire star systems. The first contact was a disaster. A human exploration fleet encountered the outsiders near the galactic rim. All 20 ships were destroyed in minutes. The weapons that had defeated the Council were useless against outsider technology. The bioships, the phase drives, the singularity weapons, none of it worked. For the first time since the exile, humanity faced an enemy that was truly superior. Emperor Yang called an emergency meeting of the Imperial Council. Also invited were representatives from every major species in the Empire, including former Council members. The room was tense. Many of the alien representatives had not been in the same room as human leaders since their defeat. "The outsiders are coming," Yang announced. "Our analysts estimate they will reach the inner regions of the galaxy within 5 years. If they are not stopped, all of us, human and alien alike, will be exterminated. Our conflicts with each other suddenly seem very small." A draconian representative stood up. His species had been defeated and humiliated by humanity 20 years ago. "Why should we help you?" he demanded. "You conquered us. You rule us. Let these outsiders destroy humanity. Perhaps then we can reclaim our freedom." Yang looked at the draconian with tired eyes. "Because they will destroy you too. The outsiders do not conquer. They annihilate. If humanity falls, you will all die shortly after. This is not about human survival anymore. This is about the survival of all life in this galaxy." Supreme Commander Wu stood up, anger on his face. "We do not need their help. Human forces alone can defeat any enemy." "No," Yang said firmly, "we cannot. I have seen the intelligence reports. The outsiders are beyond us. We need every species, every mind, every warrior in this galaxy working together, or we all die." The room fell silent. Slowly, grudgingly, the alien representatives began to understand. The enemy of my enemy is my ally, at least for now. Ambassador Nu proposed a bold plan. "Form a universal parliament," she said. "Give every species real representation. Create a true alliance, not an empire held together by force. If we face extinction together, let us fight together as equals." The debate raged for days. Wu and his supporters argued that humans should maintain command and control. But as more reports came in about the outsider threat, even they began to soften. The outsiders had destroyed 3 more human fleets and had begun consuming entire star systems on the galactic edge. Emperor Yang made his decision. "We will form the Universal Parliament," he announced. "All species will have representation based on their population. Humanity will maintain control of military forces as guardians of the galaxy, but civilian governance will be shared. We will not be tyrants. We will be protectors." Not everyone was happy with this decision. Wu resigned his position in protest. Many human military officers were angry, but Empress Heiwan supported her husband completely. "This is who we should have been from the beginning," she said. The Universal Parliament was formed in the old council chamber on. Representatives from 3,000 species gathered. They looked at each other with suspicion and old hatred, but they all understood the stakes. Unite or die. Ambassador Noah was chosen to lead the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Her task was to address the crimes committed by all sides during the wars. The Council's attempted genocide of humanity, humanity's brutal campaigns of conquest, the atrocities committed by various species against each other. It was painful work, but necessary for healing. Meanwhile, human scientists worked with alien researchers to find a weapon against the outsiders. Dr. Jin's daughter, who had followed in her mother's footsteps, made a breakthrough. By combining human dark matter manipulation with energy techniques and weapon systems, they created something new. A quantum disruptor that could tear apart the molecular bonds of outsider ships. The final battle took place at the Barrier Nebula, where the galaxy's spiral arm met empty intergalactic space. The outsiders had consumed 15 star systems and were advancing toward the core worlds. Humanity led a combined fleet of 5 million ships from 100 different species. Grand Admiral Jin commanded the human forces, but she worked alongside draconian generals, warriors, and tacticians. For the first time in galactic history, all the species fought together with a common purpose. The battle lasted 3 weeks. Millions died on both sides, but the quantum disruptors worked. Slowly, painfully, the outsiders were pushed back. When the last outsider vessel was destroyed, a cheer went up across the combined fleet. Humans embraced former enemies. Old hatreds were set aside, at least for the moment. Emperor Yang died quietly 2 years after the victory over the outsiders. He was 97 years old. Empress Heiwan held his hand as he passed. His last words were, "Did we do the right thing?" "Yes," Heiwan told him, "we did." Heiwan became the sole ruler of the Terran Universal Empire, but she continued the reforms her husband had begun. More power was given to the Universal Parliament. Species that proved their loyalty and contribution to the common good were given more autonomy. It was not perfect equality, but it was better than tyranny. 3 years after Yang's death, Empress Heiwan stood before the Universal Parliament to give her annual address. The chamber was full. Representatives from 3,000 species watched her, some with respect, some with lingering resentment, all with attention. "We were exiled as outcasts," Heiwan began. "The Council feared what humanity might become. They tried to kill us to erase us from existence. They were right to fear, but wrong about what we would choose to be. We could have become monsters. We could have destroyed everyone who wronged us. We could have ruled through terror alone, but we chose a different path. We chose to be protectors, not oppressors. Rulers, yes, but just rulers. Strong, yes, but merciful. The Council is gone. The Empire remains. But the Empire serves all species now, not just humanity. We are the guardians, and we take that responsibility seriously. The outsiders taught us that we are stronger together than apart. Let us remember that lesson. Let us build a galaxy where no species is exiled for being different, where no race is exterminated for being feared, where justice is real and power is used to protect, not to dominate." The chamber was silent for a moment. Then, slowly, the alien delegates began to applaud. It started with the species that had allied with humanity voluntarily. Then it spread to the former council members. Even the representative, whose species had suffered greatly in the wars, stood and applauded. Empress Heiwan looked up through the transparent dome of the chamber. Outside, human warships orbited the capital world, massive vessels with weapons that could destroy planets, a reminder that humanity's mercy was a choice, not weakness. The galaxy was at peace because humanity enforced that peace, but it was still peace. As she left the chamber, Haywan thought about the long journey humanity had taken. From a small species on a single planet to galactic outcasts to universal dominance, they had survived the impossible. They had defeated insurmountable odds. They had become the most powerful civilization in the galaxy. But the question remained, had they become wise enough to use that power well? Only time would tell.